Kia ora koutou katoa. In this brief conversation, I want to unpack the white supremacy. And yes, I call it white supremacy because it is reflective of the broader structure of white hierarchy that places notions of whiteness at top and simultaneously constructs the practices, ideas, knowledge systems of indigenous peoples or peoples of the global south as at the bottom of the hierarchy. So the response of white supremacy to the response in Parliament of Te Pāti Maori to the Treaty Principles Bill, and particularly the performance of Hannah Rafferty Maipi Clark by tearing the Treaty Principles Bill and then performing haka. Now, there have been strong positive responses across the globe from indigenous communities and communities at the margins that draw inspiration from that performance of haka in New Zealand Parliament. And at the same time, what you see is the continual devaluing of the haka by white supremacists. Now, that work of devaluing the haka in the Parliament draws upon concepts of democracy and says things such as, the haka in the Parliament is undemocratic, it is uncivil, and it is disruptive to the parliamentary protocols and processes. Now, this very argument is a reflection of white supremacy because it works through the erasure of Te Tiriti. Te Tiriti as the foundational document of Aotearoa, as an agreement between Maori and the Crown, serves as the basis for New Zealand's Parliament. So any claims to Parliament, including the right of the New Zealand Parliament to operate, exists on the basis of Te Tiriti. In that sense, then, the norms of how to run the Parliament, the norms of civility that make up the infrastructures of the Parliament are based upon Te Tiriti and the invitation offered by Maori to the Crown to co-govern. This critical point is often erased through claims of civility that then put up a one-size-fits-all approach based upon norms of whiteness to delete or to erase conversations or to mark as illegitimate conversations or to mark as outside of the norm conversations that are challenging settler colonialism, that are challenging imperialism, that are challenging forms of white supremacy. If the Treaty Principles Bill is fundamentally read as a threat to Te Tiriti as a founding document, the turn toward communicative practices of tangata whenua, the haka being one such communicative practice, is precisely relevant and appropriate to challenging that work of violation. So it's really important that we continue to decenter the ways in which whiteness takes over ideas of democracy, the ways in which narrow ideas of democracy are pushed to put forth and reproduce agendas of racial capitalism, particularly extractive neoliberalism, more settler colonialism and imperialism. At this moment across the globe, as we see indigenous struggles here in Aotearoa put up resistance against these extractive practices of the settler colonial state, as we witness in Gaza, the ongoing resistance offered by Palestinians to Israeli settler colonialism, it is important that we decenter dominant notions of democracy embedded in ideas of whiteness. It is important that we listen to indigenous global south articulations of democracy. It is important that we color democracy with multiple understandings and multiple meanings emergent from the lived struggles of the global majority. I invite you to consider the ways in which the performance of the Haka in the New Zealand Parliament actually disrupts these hegemonic forms of democracy in the service of extractive neoliberalism. The question I ask myself is, what can we learn from indigenous practices in this context, from the practices of Maori in reclaiming democracy to actually build global movements for democracy that serve people, that serve communities that have been historically disenfranchised, and that actually create openings for transforming our economic and political systems. Thank you.